Greetings from our Middle Tennessee studio. Welcome to today's Vista Points podcast, Choose Your Path, where the Vista Points staff are committed to improving the quality of life for people living with disabilities. I'm Bart, your podcast host. My role is to walk with you on this journey of discovering and using special needs trusts. If you're listening to this podcast online, I want you to make the most of your experience. We have a feature to help you understand the podcast. You can turn on closed captionings by clicking the CC in the shadowed box of your video screen. We address a variety of topics related to special needs trust. Today, we continue educating you by interviewing business partners who also serve people living with disabilities, chronic illness, or who have special needs. Today, I'm glad to welcome Marcus Cox, Director of Community Relations with Playhouse on the Square in Memphis. And now, as they say in the theater business, the curtain's up. Hi, Marcus. I'm happy to interview you today for our Vista Points Choose Your Path podcast. I've heard many good things about your organization and the entertainment it provides the entire Southeast. Let me introduce you to our listeners. Marcus Cox is a native of Memphis, Tennessee, a graduate of Watkins Overton High School for the Creative and Performing Arts. He holds a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in theater performance from the University of Memphis and has performed and traveled as a professional actor across the United States. Marcus serves and maintains membership to multiple organizations, including the Metro Memphis Attractions Association, the Young Professionals Council for Greater Memphis, Chamber of Commerce, Miss America Organization, and Americans for the Arts. As the Director of Community Relations for the Playhouse on the Square, Marcus is tasked with curating current and establishing new relationships between Playhouse on the Square and neighboring businesses and community organizations. He serves as the bridge of each department within the organization and partners with the Mid-South region. He is a member of the Young Professionals Class of 2021, a 2019 Kendall Awards recipients, and who's who among American marketing professionals. Marcus is married to his wife, Tasha, for 19 years, and they have one daughter, Kelsey, who's 15. Marcus and his family are now members of Hope Presbyterian Church in Cordova and serve in the marriage and family ministry. Welcome, Marcus.
Hi, Bart. I'm happy to be here on the Vista Points podcast and speaking with you.
Marcus, I'm glad you are too. I have to say, your passion for the community and entertainment is clear in your biography. Will you tell us a little more about your passion for entertainment and your role with the Playhouse on the Square?
Sure. Theater and the arts in general have always been a part of me and my family's life. I have an older brother who is a professional musician, and my sister is a published author. I could not imagine doing anything else with my life, honestly. I have always been a storyteller. As an actor and creative, I have been blessed with the ability to tell the stories of others. My hope is to move audience members in a way that elicits change. As as community relations director at Playhouse on the Square, I jokingly call myself the door opener. It is my job to find connections with our community to what it is we do at Playhouse. In addition to our main stage productions, Playhouse on the Square runs a number of community outreach programs for the betterment of our city and region.
I'm glad to hear about your story and what brought you to work in theater. It's always been a part of the entertainment industry, which has been of interest to me, to watch and be part of when possible. It must be a great place to work.
Oh, it is, Bart. The Memphis theater community is such a tight-knit family. It is not like this in other parts of the country. Here, we look forward to everyone succeeding. You know, it takes a community of people to produce theatrical performance on stage, backstage, and in the audience. There is something for everyone. One area in particular interests to me is in how we serve people with disabilities in our audience.
Well, that makes sense. Darlene Kemp, the executive director of Vista Points, told me that you're the right man to talk with about how theater serves people with disabilities. Would you tell me more about this?
Oh, absolutely. Playhouse on the Square works under a three-part mission. We want to create a safe space for our people to create, tell stories that represent our vast community, and most importantly, never deny anyone access to the arts. And once upon a time, that last part just meant serving those with financial hardships. But in the past few years, that word access has expanded into every possible boundary that keeps folk from our doors. The obvious things are good parking, accessibility ramps, theater seating, and restrooms. But we have now included listening devices, live narration for those with sight impairment, sign language interpreters, large print programs, and more. Soon, we will also offer sensory sensitive performances for our family shows. Now, we know that there are young ones who need extra care, and parents sometimes feel they would not be welcome in a theater setting. Instead of those families trying to fit into our box, we are looking at ways to make things better for them.
That's interesting. Would you tell me more about specific devices you offer audience members with audio needs?
So we have two. One is the old school UHF radio devices. We connect the sound feed from the stage and broadcast it directly to the audience member as they enjoy the performance. They no longer have to strain to hear what is happening on stage. It is really good for musicals too, because our sound engineer mixes the performances so that there is always an even blend between the music and those singing on stage. The second device is for patrons with sight impairment. We have a narrator keyed into this device that will narrate the actions on stage as the patron sits in the audience. It is the same device used at the White House for guided tours.
Wow, Marcus, I hadn't considered those services before. This is interesting. I wish everybody would provide these services. Please tell me more about the theater's visual services for those who need them.
Okay. Well, with prior knowledge given, we can arrange for ASL interpreters to narrate productions for the hearing impaired. We work with Deaf Connect in Memphis. They are terrific partners and really good at their jobs. As I mentioned earlier, every show has a large format programs, so audience members can get whatever information we have shared in our programs and be a part of the full experience. Then at both Playhouse on the Square and the Circuit Playhouse, we have live feeds from the stage to the lobby. This is in an effort to cater to those who may need to step out of the theater for any number of reasons. They can care for themselves, but not miss out on any of the production.
My goodness, I feel like a whole new world has opened up. Now, I can imagine there are people who want to attend the theater who have ambulatory needs. Can you tell me about the services the theater provides them?
Yeah, one of the biggest misconceptions about our theater is that we do not have parking. And I don't know who started that rumor, but it is 100% not true. We can offer bus and handicapped parking, and every door is accessible for every mode of ambulatory transport. We have seating for wheelchairs and numerous spaces in our auditoriums as well. Those spaces come with companion seating, so your loved ones or caregiver can stay with you as well. Areas with steps have been recently fitted with iron rails created and installed by our friends with the Memphis Metal Museum, and they are beautiful works of art. We have really put some thought into making the theater experience as enjoyable as possible. Now, Bart, one thing people need to know in order to use these services is how to pay for their admission. While the theater gives free and discounted tickets throughout the community, it's important for your listeners to know how a special needs trust pays for their admission. Can you speak about that?
I'm glad you asked me, Marcus. Of course. I'd be happy to answer that important question. The Special Needs Trust pays for the admission of the beneficiary and one caregiver for each entertainment experience. Today, of course, we're talking about the theater, but the Special Needs Trust pays for admission to all forms of entertainment. To do this, the beneficiary or the caregiver needs to first contact the Vista Points office, speak with one of our team members about the upcoming event. There are many ways available to pay for this type of entertainment. The staff will work out payment with the beneficiary and or the caregiver. And no offense, but I can imagine one caregiver might be interested in your spring performance of Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812, which is based on Tolstoy's War and Peace. Another caregiver might be interested in attending a summer performance of Jersey Boys. The Broadway smash takes the audience behind the scenes and the music of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. They're both great, but really made for different types of people. However, there's no reason the entire family can't go to both. It's just that the Special Needs Trust only pays for the one beneficiary and one caregiver per performance.
Well, thank you for that promotion, Bart. Yes, we're excited about these and other performances coming up. The most updated list of performance dates and times is found on our website, playhouseonthesquare.org. But while we're on the subject, it's one thing to learn about the theater online and another thing to experience it. How can someone with a special needs trust address transportation to the theater?
That's a good point, Marcus. The mileage to and from the entertainment is reimbursed by the beneficiary special needs trust. It's simply a matter of tracking mileage, turning it in, and then waiting to be reimbursed. It's that easy. The special needs trust manager can provide forms or answer questions unique to the beneficiary's needs if there's any concerns. Well, this is turning out to be quite an interview. I've heard interesting things about the classes you offer. Would you tell us more about them? After all, we now know the Special Needs Trust pays for these classes and the transportation to get to them.
Our Department of Theater Education offers theater classes for youth starting at pre-K all the way to our senior adults. We are taking a break with classes for the fall, but we'll be back this winter starting in January. Schools and senior living communities can enjoy a number of shows this season at our matinee performances during the weekday. There will be matinees for The Wizard of Oz and the Scottsboro Boys coming up soon. The Summer Youth Theater Conservatory will return in the summer starting in May. Our young thespians will get the opportunity to meet friends, learn more about theater arts, and perform on a professional stage.
That's good to know. Those classes might be a reason to go to Memphis. Now, as we close this podcast and draw the curtain on this conversation about entertainment, please give our listeners your closing thoughts about the benefits of entertainment for anyone living with a disability.
I want to go back to Playhouse on the Square's mission. We firmly believe in making theater accessible to everyone in our community. We feel that with all we have discussed today, that we are doing that, but we will not be satisfied. Our team is committed to doing all we can to share these experiences. And what I ultimately want to see is Playhouse on the Square not only making stories on stage available to those with disabilities, but those in the community with disabilities feeling comfortable enough with us to share their stories on stage with us as well.
Thank you, Marcus. Your passion and commitment to entertainment and community are tangible. I feel it. I hope the listeners do too. I hope also they enjoy to choose the experience Playhouse on the Square, whether they live in or near Memphis, or when they visit the area. To plan your next theatrical experience, first visit the theater's website at playhouseonthesquare.org. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to today's episodes of Choose Your Path, the Vista Points podcast. I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can be notified of our latest episode as they go live on the 1st and 15th of every month. The Vista Points YouTube channel is named Vista Points SNT. That's SNT as in Special Needs Trust. You can find past episodes of the YouTube channel. You can also find past episodes on the Vista Points website at vistapoints.org, along with a transcript of each podcast. The website again is vistapoints.org. If you don't already know, the episode topics are in response to listeners' questions. If you haven't asked your question yet, I encourage you to ask and share your other concerns online or by calling. When you're online, visit our Facebook page named Vista Points Inc. That's Vista Points INC. While you're there, you can send us a direct message, otherwise known as a DM, by clicking on the messenger button, which looks like a sideways lightning bolt. For those who are comfortable, ask your questions via Facebook, or voice your concerns by calling the Vista Points office at 888-422-4076. That number again is 888-422-4076. Each of the Vista Points team wants to answer your questions and assist you in whatever way they can. Now it's time for our virtual curtain call for today's episode. Enjoy your day with your loved one and have a good night at the theater. Come back for more about Special Needs Trust and reference past episodes of Choose Your Path anytime. Regardless of where you are or where you find us, we walk beside you on your path. I look forward to our next step together and speaking with you soon. Cheers.